the prolonged conflict and increasingly authoritarian measures by President Taraxia's administration ignited a spark of resistance among the populace. In communities across the nation, the seeds of civil disobedience began to take root. Ordinary citizens, inspired by historical figures like Martin Luther King Jr. and Mahatma Gandhi, felt a growing sense of moral duty to oppose the government's oppressive actions peacefully. Amidst the turmoil, leaders of the resistance emerged. Among them were Sarah Walker, a schoolteacher turned activist, and Reverend James Davis, a charismatic preacher advocating for nonviolent protest. They organized secret meetings, teaching others about the principles of civil disobedience and the power of peaceful resistance. The initial acts of civil disobedience were small but symbolic. In cities under martial law, groups of citizens defied curfews, holding candlelight vigils and sit-ins at public squares. These gatherings, though peaceful, were met with swift crackdowns by law enforcement, leading to mass arrests and further inflaming public sentiment against the government. In one notable instance, a group of elderly women in Boston refused to comply with the rationing of essential goods imposed by the military. They staged a bread march, distributing free loaves of bread to hungry neighbors while chanting, "Bread for peace, not for war." Their act of defiance, captured on social media, went viral and inspired similar actions across the country. Realizing the need for a coordinated effort, resistance leaders like Sarah and Reverend Davis began organizing larger, more strategic protests. They utilized encrypted communication platforms to avoid detection and set up networks of safe houses for activists on the run from authorities. The resistance movement grew as people from all walks of life, students, workers, clergy, and even some disillusioned soldiers joined their ranks. Workshops on nonviolent resistance techniques were held in secret locations, teaching participants how to maintain discipline and unity in the face of violent repression. The movement adopted symbols and slogans that resonated with the public, rallying support for their cause and unifying disparate groups under a common banner of freedom and justice. In response to the growing wave of civil disobedience, President Taraxia's administration intensified its crackdown. The National Guard was deployed to break up protests, using tear gas and rubber bullets to disperse crowds. Surveillance was ramped up, with government agencies monitoring communications and infiltrating resistance groups to preempt their actions. Despite these measures, the resolve of the resistance only strengthened. Each act of government repression served to galvanize the movement, drawing international attention and sympathy to their cause. Media coverage, both domestic and international, highlighted the bravery of the protesters and the brutality of the government's response, further isolating the Taraxia administration on the world stage. Solidarity became the movement's watchword. Communities rallied around those who had been arrested or injured, providing legal support, medical care, and financial assistance to families affected by the government's crackdown. Stories of individual sacrifice and collective resilience spread, inspiring others to take a stand. One poignant example was the story of Carlos Mendoza, a young activist who was severely injured during a peaceful protest in Los Angeles. His image, holding a banner that read, "Freedom for All," while standing defiantly in front of an advancing tank, became a powerful symbol of the movement. Carlos's bravery and subsequent recovery, supported by a nationwide outpouring of solidarity, underscored the movement's strength and determination. The relentless campaign of civil disobedience began to yield tangible results. Public opinion shifted dramatically as more people witnessed the stark contrast between the peaceful protesters and the violent repression they faced. Pressure mounted on lawmakers and military officials to reconsider their support for President Taraxia's policies. The resistance scored a significant victory when a federal court ruled that the government's actions under martial law violated constitutional rights. This legal triumph, combined with sustained civil disobedience, forced a reevaluation of the administration's stance. Calls for dialogue and reconciliation grew louder, with prominent figures from various sectors of society advocating for a peaceful resolution to the crisis. As the nation reached a critical juncture, the power of civil disobedience became undeniable. The movement had transformed from a series of isolated acts of defiance into a formidable force for change. With the government's authority increasingly challenged and the people's resolve unwavering, the stage was set for a pivotal chapter in the struggle for justice and freedom.